boys, how we getting on? So today we're going to be going through remote closing. We've went through a few different things in the other masterclasses. Like we'll do this every week, 7 p.m. on a Wednesday. Went through appointment setting, personal branding, our 4-month blueprint to get up and going online, land a remote sales job. But this class, we're going to be going through remote closing, which I'm going to discuss in a second. This is the more higher end stuff of the remote sales. It's not necessarily something you'd start on, even though you can. But yeah, so basically what we're going to be going through is what is remote closing, what you'd be selling, walk you through step by step exactly how you can become a remote closer. Not only that, how you can actually succeed with it as well. So essentially, firstly, what is a high ticket closer? A high ticket closer is an online sales rep taking about 30 to 45-minute phone calls for other online businesses. Now, as a closer, you're only going to be dealing with companies that are 100K per month in revenue, really, because I'll dive into the maths of it later on, but you don't want to be working for someone who's just started up a company that's not actually making money, because in order for you to make money, the company realistically needs to be making a decent amount of money already, because we're going to go into the commission structure in a sense in a moment. So all you do is simply take calls with already interested, warm inbound leads. Now, what I'm going to do is I've made a little flow chart for you. Sorry, boys. And basically, shows the full 4-step process of when you're a closer, right? So first step is marketing. Now, this is not your job. I get a lot of people coming to me saying, do I have to post content? Do I have to make ads? Do I have to find my own leads? Which is like, a lead is an interested customer. No, you don't. Your job is simply just to take calls for the business. That's all it is. No fulfillment, no inventory. You're simply just taking calls and closing deals. So step 1 is the marketing. That's usually through paid advertisement or social media content. Step 2, someone interested, also known as a lead, reaches out to an appointment setter. Now, if you've watched my other content before, I'll go through what an appointment setter is. But an appointment setter, to summarize it, is someone who's going to book in your appointments for you, speaks to the customer, qualifies them, and puts them onto your calendar, which is step 3. So as you can see here, I made like a little fucking, usually use Calendly, but this was one of my calendar days. I had to quite a lot of calls that day, October last year. So step 3, the qualified leads books into your calendar. But the thing is, you're not going to be talking to people who don't know the product or service that you're selling, that aren't already interested. These are called warm inbound leads. They're already people that are basically ready to buy. You just got to get them over the line and take your commission. Step 4, you actually hop on them calls. So as you can see here, I had like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I had 8 calls a day. Realistically, you don't even be doing that many a day. It's usually about 3 to 5. But yeah, step 4, you actually hop on the calls. These are going to be 30, 45 minutes on Zoom, Google Meet, whatever your client actually takes their meetings on. And obviously the best part about this is completely anywhere in the world. So here's a few screenshots of a few calls I was making for a fitness offer that was on when I was in Bali. And then lastly, you get paid. So essentially 10% comms, let's say you've got a 10K deal that you're going to be closing for. That's 1K for a 45-minute phone call. For you to hit 10K a month, all you need to do is 10 closes a month to hit 10K a month. It sounds pretty straightforward because it fucking is. All right, so next. Now I'm going to kind of run through a few results from guys within my network, within the community that I'm in. So here you've got Tiffany. She is a remote closer for a B2B business now, I think, which I'm going to dive into the difference between B2C and B2B. She landed her first closing role within 4 months. Now, I'd say for most people, depending on what path you pick, you can be 3 to 6 months or 6 to 9 months realistically to get up and going with closing, as long as you've got the right guidance and stuff. So she's on a B2B offer now. I remember her coming up and stuff. She was just dedicated to the training and she was just smashing it essentially. Secondly, T. Berryman here. He is now on a fitness offer, selling like fitness coaching. So he'll be 10.7K in his 3rd month as a closer. Now, it does take a bit of time to get up and going with things as closer, which I'll explain in a sec. But 10.7K in his 3rd month is pretty wild. Here's another one. Ryan O'Neill, guy I personally helped. You can watch this full video on YouTube. I break everything down with him. He's only 19 and he's managed to secure a closing position for a UK-based company. Base salary of £30,000 a year. Even though it's usually commission, you can get closing roles that are base pay as well. So on target earnings, £110,000 a year. It's a bit mad because you're earning literally what doctors and lawyers could be getting by just learning a high income skill. So yeah, have a look at my YouTube on that if it is something you're more interested in. We'll break everything down. Here's another one. James, as a guy that I know, he closed for an info product, 6K in 1 week as a closer. He was a Sparky before, no experience before this, and just followed the proven blueprint and got him going with the closing side of things. Same with Jay here from Scotland. He's travelling about now, taking sales calls from his laptop. making decent money. We could keep on going with the testimonials. There is loads, especially on my YouTube and stuff. But Michael Holden, just being a tradie, like a lot of you guys that are watching this right now. And last week, oh, not last week, it was a couple of months ago. We had 7.5K in 1 week as a closer, simply just taking sales calls from his laptop. So I get a lot of questions in my DMs like, so what is it you actually sell? What is it that you sell? It's basically just high ticket products and services in the online business space. So anything, you know, ranging from $5,000 to 30K plus dollars. And like I was saying before, 10% commission, coaching, consulting, online education, marketing offers. There are so many niches to go down, and I'm going to give you a lot of advice on what you want to do because you don't want to be selling something you don't really, believe in or you're not interested in. Pick a niche and go for it. Like now, the two industries you're going to be working in as a closer and even as a seller is B2C, which is business to customer. So this is mostly online influencers and coaches. This is mostly online influencers and coaches in the wealth, health, fitness, relationship niches, personal development. You see it all the time. Any content creator that you see now that has a decent amount of following, he will have some sort of high ticket product or service, which I'm going to show a few examples of it in a second. Like B2B is business to business. So this could be tech sales, software sales, business consulting, real estate, and all that. So there's two different sides to it, really. People sometimes think, oh, yeah, it's just you're selling for fucking gurus. Not really at all. I'd say majority of the opportunities at the moment are in B2B, from what I've seen. A lot of guys, especially the guys that I just kind of went through there, and even the girls, they're mostly in B2B now. B2C is, great. I think, initially B2C, it's more emotional based selling, whereas B2B is more logistical, which I'll kind of dive into in a sec. It's where they fit in. I'm giving you a few examples of, influencers that have high ticket programs and stuff. So you've got Jenna Kutcher here, 1 million followers. She's an online business coach, but she also does for copywriting. And I don't know if you know what copywriting is. It's just an online business model, essentially. But these businesses essentially run their whole business on social media, and their coaching is purely through their content, and they'll do more intimate coaching, and they need sales reps to sell on their behalf. They don't have time to hop on all their sales calls for them. They need to hire people like you to come in there and take their sales calls for them. Majority of these business owners probably don't even know how to sell either. It's like there is such a gap in the market for it. And if you've watched my other masterclasses before, I kind of run through the numbers of high ticket closing, high ticket sales, the way the world is moving in the e-learning space. The demand's already there, and it's only going to go up for sales reps to hop in like you and take fat commissions essentially. You probably recognize James Smith. He has a high ticket offer in fitness, and also he does online business coaching now as well. Same with Sam Millsap, same sort of niche. Now I'm going to dive into a couple of guys that are in my network that are on pretty big offers or have been. So Benny here, I actually was in the same closing team as him for a while. He is now a couple of weeks ago, only just started this offer with Brez Scales. I see him all over my For You page. The guy's blown up. He basically just scales, brands online. And Benny basically made 4K in his first week, just closing on his behalf, taking his sales calls for him, getting people over the line, people that are already interested in the product or service that he's selling, and just taking the fat commission. Same with my mate Conrad here. I actually live with Conrad. I've been living with him for the last 7 months. He was on an e-com offer for this guy here, Nathan Nazareth. And my community also scaled Nathan Nazareth to the point where he's at now. So Conrad essentially taking the sales calls for him, quit his tradie job, and was taking fat commissions by simply just taking his sales calls for him. So yeah. Now, how do you actually get started with this? Because I can tell you about the business model all day, I can tell you about all these fucking results, but how do you actually get started? Well, step one seems pretty simple, but you've got to just get good at sales. And this is where most people go wrong. Everyone in the online space tries to start an online business from scratch where you don't have the skill set yet. And like I've said in previous videos, 90% of online businesses fail in the first year because they don't have the skill set to actually pursue, make that online business successful essentially. So no matter what avenue you go down, you will always need the skill of sales. But this step, people overlook it, especially if they've been in corporate sales or door-to-door sales or whatever before. They think they can just skip this step and they can just land an online high-ticket sales role. It is completely different, and I'm going to dive into that as well because I get a lot of guys in my DMs just thinking, well, how do I just land a role? You are not ready to land a role. Even if you've had sales experience before, please don't get it twisted. It is a completely different type of industry and you don't want to jump into it too early. Just take your time to get good at sales, and I'm going to show you the actual step-by-step on how to actually do that as well. But yeah, essentially just learn how to sell, sales processes, and human psychology. People think I was just fucking, oh, I just need to learn how to sell like a fucking car salesman. No, you actually need to know the sales process behind it, follow-up, nurturing, dialing, appointment setting. I always tell people to start off in an entry level position. And if this is the first video you've seen of mine, please go back onto the appointment setting masterclass that I've done. Realistically, you should be starting as an appointment setter. I don't care how much experience you've had in the past. Start as an appointment setter and work your way up. Even for me, when I was first starting out, I proved myself as an appointment setter. I earned a closing role. People think they can just skip the whole thing and they're just entitled to a role. It's a different ballgame, man. Closing compared to everything else. So getting good at sales, like I was saying, this is the most important step. It is an endless positive cycle. And it all just starts with get better at sales. So firstly, you just need to learn sales, okay? The more sales calls you close, you'll get on a better offer. The better offer you're on, the more money you make. And you go around in circles. But people think, oh, I just need to find a good offer. That's what I'm missing. The last thing you want to do is be that guy that offer hops. Because I tell you now, the high ticket sales space, it's a big space, but everybody fucking speaks. You don't want to be that guy. So the first thing is just getting very good at sales, being fully confident in your ability that you can close a deal for a business, that you can bring revenue in for that business. Now, how do you actually learn sales then? Well, there's multiple ways to do it. Now, realistically, for you guys now that are just watching this, I don't, I'm not too sure if you've actually invested in training in the past or whatnot, maybe even been in the past, and completely understand because I did when I first got in the space. I actually invested quite a bit of money in certain types of trading, and it wasn't what I expected, and I got burnt. But what you can implement right now is just read books on sales, human psychology, and communication. Like two books I recommend there is Jordan Belfort's Straight Line Selling, and I actually have this book right here next to my bed, but How to Win Friends and Influence People are the two books I recommend starting with. Now, all the theory on sales, closing, you can learn the industry like the back of your hand. You have all the information on YouTube. Like I always say this to people, that everything's already out there. You can learn absolutely everything for free. No problem. The only difference is sales isn't just theory based. And I'm going to kind of go down in that in a second. But how to learn sales in a faster results, I would say getting someone who's already been in your position before with mentorships and communities, because it skips a lot of the trial and error. I know for me personally, I tried to do everything myself initially, and then I invested in the wrong training, and that kind of bit me in the arse, but I didn't really do my research. I invested in, I don't know if you know, like Andy Elliott. He's more in car sales, and I was trying to get into high ticket sales. It's a completely different industry. So I invested in like a training that wasn't really relevant to the industry I was trying to get in. So just make sure you do your research and you invest in someone who has done what you've wanted to do. That's literally all you need to do. So community side of things as well, which I'm going to dive into in a sec, because for sales, it is a practical thing. So you're going to need people to practice with. So community, mentorship, that is the best way to go about it. But like I said before, all the information's out there. So here we go first. But from my own experience, cut the bullshit and just invest in yourself, especially with closing. Because usually with closing, you get a quicker progress, 2 to 3 months. You have a clear blueprint, your first remote job, even if you've got zero experience before in sales. You get feedback from people who've done it before, one-on-one support and network opportunities. I always say networking, and I'm going to dive into how to land a role in a second. Networking is how I've got all my previous high ticket sales rules, and it is the best way to land a role. Don't get us wrong, there is other ways, but I've never had to look anywhere, apart from a network. So, and look, like I mentioned before, okay, you can have all the theory in the world on YouTube. You can know the frameworks, the scripts, the tonality. You can know it all like the back of your hand, right? But put it into practice is another fucking story. Okay. Hence why doing this alone is impossible, I'd say. Because realistically, you need people to practice with. It's like if you go watch boxing all your life, Mike Tyson on YouTube, you've been watching for years, right? You know the way he moves, you studied how he is, and you go into a boxing ring, you're going to get your fucking head punched in if you've never boxed before. It doesn't matter about your theory. You need to know how to put it into practice. So how do you put it into practice? You put in reps with mock calls, role plays. That's how you actually get the skill. That's how you actually turn the theory into an actual skill. You can't just simply consume sales content and become a closer. So, and look, I don't want anybody coming into this thinking, oh yeah, I'm just going to take a few fucking role plays. I'm going to, read these couple books and yeah, I'm going to be sorted. No, you're going to be shit. And like I said, even if you have had corporate sales experience and door to door and you think you're the dog's bollocks and you've had all this experience, you're not going to just walk into the space and get a role. Maybe you might fluke yourself into a role, but then you fucked it. And I'll explain why in a second. Like, you're going to feel awkward. The role plays are not fun. Learning how to close a deal takes fucking time, especially like a high ticket deal. And another thing is, I always tell guys is, let's say you did land a role. Let's say you've never invested in yourself in the past. Maybe that's fitness or, even just in your own education, right? How can you expect someone else that you're on a call with to invest in you, to invest in a program that you're selling if you've not even invested in yourself before in the past? Doesn't make sense. So don't skip over this step. Step number one, learn the fucking skill. Doesn't matter how long it takes. Like I said, 3 to 6 months can take even more than that. Realistically, sales isn't always an ongoing thing, especially closing. If you slack off with your role plays, if you slack off with your personal development, you will get rusty. It's something that you're going to have to keep doing for the rest of your life. Step two, learn how to land an opportunity. So I'd say the skill side of things is about 60%, 40% is the rule itself. And people are like, oh, you shouldn't blame the rule. There is a lot of shit rules out there and there's a lot of good rules out there, but you've got to earn the good rules. It's not like a thing of you're entitled to a rule just because you've learned the skill. You could land yourself a shit rule or you might not perform on the rule. The real work starts when you land an opportunity. People think, oh, I've went through a sales academy, I've got certified, I'm ready. Yeah, that's only half the fucking ball game, mate. Once you get into a role, see how you perform there. That's when you really know, if you're actually good or not, when you get thrown in the deep end. But like I said before you look for an offer, make sure you're at a good standard and you can actually bring revenue in for the business. Because let's say you start applying for roles. You've went through all the theory. You think the dog's bollocks. Let's say you landed a role. You've fluked it. You know how to take an interview. You've done it. You're in there. You don't want to burn bridges with potential business owners if you land a role too early and can't perform. Like I was saying, high ticket sales space, it's not a small space, but all the business owners speak to each other. If you blacklist yourself by being shit on an offer, what do you think that business owner is going to do? He's going to speak to all the people in his network. And if you go for a specific niche like fitness or real estate or something that you're interested in, they're just going to, your name's going to just have a shitty reputation. So you want to make sure you're at a good standard before that. And a good indication of that is role plays and getting feedback from someone who has done it before to say, right, I think you're ready. Do you know what I mean? So, but look, when you are ready, this is going to be your first close. All right. Essentially, all you're going to be doing is closing the business on why they should hire you. Use the sales skills that you've learned in the process, the way you reach out, the way you speak, the way you follow up. Like I said, it's not just you speaking on a Zoom call. Sales is more. 80% of your revenue comes from follow-up. It doesn't actually come from, the actual sales calls itself. It's having that pipeline. It's having people that you've been on calls with in the past following up. That's what separates the average sales reps to the ones making 20, 30K a month, or the lads that are constantly working outside their calls on their self-improvement, on their pipeline, on everything. If you don't, pipeline is basically a customer, management sheet, essentially. People that you've been on calls with in the past. That's what I'm saying. On this masterclass, some things might sound a bit confusing because if you haven't been on the other ones before, I really highly recommend start with the appointment setting because I kind of run through all this terminology. Appointment setting is the first stepping stone to come onto this. So where do I find these rules? Where to find them? Well, the top 5 methods I'd say is, Facebook groups. Be very, very careful on Facebook groups. The way to go about this, and I do have a video coming out on this, is just literally searching high ticket sales opportunities into Facebook. Now, a lot of these rules are going to be scams. Now, the way to vet these offers is simply reach out to them. And if they send you some sort of Telegram group or anything like that, or expect you to pay for a rule, you block them. But the reason why you block them is once you block a certain amount of people, you start just seeing the legit opportunities coming to the groups. But realistically, I wouldn't spend too much time on Facebook groups. Now, there will be some diamonds in the rough there, but look, there is a better method. So the way to vet them is just, reach out to them, see what happens in regards to if they're going to ask you to pay for a rule or send you a fucking Telegram group. You know what I mean? So just be careful. Another outreach method on IG and YouTube, I can dive into this on a video because I could go on about this for hours on how to outreach and all that. There's a lot to it. You've got to stand out from the rest because there will be other closers doing outreach and stuff as well. So you need to distinguish yourself from the rest. The way you approach these businesses, which in all honesty you will learn when you learn sales because you're not just doing role plays. You learn the whole sales processes. Third is job posts, LinkedIn, Upwork, Seek, Indeed. And I'll show you a couple opportunities in a second that I, found today. Free and paid communities and networking and referrals, which is the best results. Realistically, the free and paid communities kind of link it with the networking results. You just meet people in communities, especially high-end ones that, maybe, cost a little bit more, have a good reputation. That's where the best rules are. And I'll kind of dive into the stats of job posts and where to find top quality roles compared to the roles that, maybe aren't scalable or aren't going to make you the most amount of money. Now, if I was you coming into the high ticket sales space, you probably have some sort of niche that you're interested in. Like I was saying before, fitness, e-com, it could be real estate, it could be fucking relationships, it could be absolutely anything, right? I would niche down. And what I do is let's say you're interested in fitness and want to start a fitness offer in the future. The reason why high ticket sales, in closing is so good is that you can learn all the back end systems before you even actually create that business yourself. So you can work for a business, take fat commissions, make a living off it, and understand how does this business work. You get access to all of their, client acquisition, their marketing, everything in the back end. You get a full understanding of before you potentially further down the line actually create your own fitness offer. And plus, by the time you do create your own fitness offer, you'll have the skills to actually close your own clients, which, half the market can't even fucking do themselves. So, do you know what I mean? It's the perfect way to start. I can rim high ticket sales all day, boys, but this is the way forward, Now, outreach in these businesses, I could just make a full video on this, like I was saying, but this is the basics of it. You've got to provide some sort of value. It's not just approaching someone on Instagram, hey mate, are you looking for closers? No. Provide fucking value. Solve a potential problem for that business. Now, once you've went through all the theory and you've done your role plays, you'll understand what I mean by this, but step one will make this make more sense. Personalized intro videos. I'm going to be running through this on another video, but that will definitely distinguish you from the crowd, especially if you do an actual personalized one. What a lot of closers do is they'll do a 1 minute video selling themselves, but they'll copy and paste that same video to multiple clients. Don't be lazy. You really want to niche, well, not niche down, but you really want to be talking about their offer in your intro video. It just shows that you care and you're actually interested in what the actual product or service it is, instead of just trying to get a job and make money. And just be relentless with follow up, all right? Don't be discouraged if a business leaves you on red or doesn't reply. You're literally building your pipeline. It's a numbers game, right? So I always say to people, just because maybe a business isn't actively, it doesn't mean they won't take you on. Because let's say a business already has a team of sales reps, a team of closers. I bet you there will be a couple of closers in that team that are not performing or just not pulling the weight. And if they see you come in with a bit of a killer outreach and a bit of hunger and a bit of spark, they're gonna trust you. They're gonna give you a chance anyways, as long as you do it right, which I'll make another video on in the future. You come in there, show a bit of fucking initiative, show a bit of fucking balls, and they might give you a few calls to test you out, see if you actually close anything, see if you actually perform better than the reps that aren't, pulling the weight in the team already. That's how you get in there. They might give you a couple trial calls, and they might even just want to scale. So with scaling as well, like they might just need more sales reps and they haven't advertised for more sales reps yet. And like I said, most of the high end quality roles are not advertised from people that are actually in contact with them. So for you to jump the queue a little bit, it's a lot better. And if I was you, I'd dedicate time every day to do, let's say, 2 hours worth of outreach. I had a guy reach out to me the other day, just simply watching my YouTube, and he's landed like 4 clients. Well, offered 4 different offers as an appointment setter, purely from watching my YouTube and doing his outreach. And he reached out to 800 businesses in 4 days. And that was through intro videos and just normal outreach, which touch on my other video, but I'm going to go into depth with it as well. So here's a few opportunities that I've seen the other day, on Seek. Well, no, on Indeed, sorry. So a lot of the job posts that you see online, they're mostly B2B. B2C, you'd probably have to reach out to them on Instagram or whatnot, on YouTube or whatnot. But as you can see here, there is a lot of money with the closing side of things. So this B2B, now I know it says 2+ years experience, but I know guys that have literally just been certified as a closer and they've had no experience before. But the way they reach out of the business, the way they show initiative and don't take no for an answer, you can still land high quality roles like this as long as you know what you're fucking doing. 25 to 52K, even £25,000 to £52,000 a year. Proven experience, fucking ignore that. If you know what you're fucking doing, you're gonna be sound. Closing high ticket deals, 2K plus, commission based only. And yeah, same thing there. Now this virality growth, lead generation, I think these are all like marketing offers. You're pretty popular in the online space, so they'll provide marketing services for businesses. Either way, there's fucking money in it, boys. LinkedIn side of things. LinkedIn is a similar sort of story. B2B, there's a ton of opportunities on there as well. These are just opportunities that I've seen from my LinkedIn the other day. But realistically, boys, I'm just going to dive into the networking side of things because you can look at job posts all day, but I'm going to make a video on actually how to reach out to these businesses in depth. Probably on the next video, really. Intro videos, your CV, all that malarkey, because I'm just kind of showing you what's out there now, but I'm going to help you actually land these roles as well and show you in depth how you can stand out from everyone else. So networking referrals is the best way. It's always been the way for me on landing roles. I've never had to apply on a job post or nothing like that. It's always been from someone I know in my network that's been referring me on a role. And realistically, right, if you look at these stats here, 70% of jobs are not posted online, 70% of high ticket sales jobs And why would realistically, why would a company, let's say a seven, eight figure company, post a job post online looking for high quality closers when they're already at that point? They probably already know people in the space that are, because if they'll have a good team of high quality closers, realistically, if they've scaled to that point. So why would they need to post it? Yes, there will be some out there that, just want to scale, but you know what I mean? The best quality roles are through network. So on average in any industry, like this could be, even if let's say you got graduated in university or like any industry, it takes about 5 to 7 months to get hired. 2 to 300 hours of searching on average to land a job. Realistically though, if you're in a community with people that are in the space quite well with a good reputation, you'd never have to go through that shit. So 75% of desired roles that are on target earnings, you'll see a lot of the time it says OTA, on target earnings, 10K plus, are given through referrals and trusted connections. It's just that 75% of the industry you're missing out on if you don't have a network. You're one conversation away from your dream life. I remember when I first landed my first role, it was for real estate companies and appointment setter, and that was through the academy that I eventually invested in the end. But yeah, 90% of the game, boys, 90% of your competition purely just do outreach in the old traditional methods. For you lads, I want you to really knuckle down with getting to know people in the space, getting yourself in a community, whether that be free or paid. You already know my stance and everything. But you can skip 90% of the queue by just knowing people, because there's a massive gap in the market for it. Realistically, boys, it's really important to know how to conduct interviews in that office because a lot of these offers that are advertised, job posts or whatnot, they might just be selling you a fucking dream. And you get on there, you maybe even get hired, but then you get into the offer and everything's been tits up. So I'm going to show you exactly what you want to need to look for when landing a closing offer. Firstly, is that offer actually providing actual results for clients? You don't want to be fucking selling something that doesn't work because essentially you'd be scamming people. Do you know what I mean? So do they actually provide results for clients? Secondly, lead quality. You could have a bunch of leads, a bunch of people on your calendar, but if they're all from third world countries and they've got no money and they've kind of, come on, you're not going to fucking close. Doesn't matter how much quantity you have there. Thirdly is lead quantity, but realistically, lead quality, I'd say, is more important. As long as you're having calls in your calendar and the good quality leads, you're sweet. So, but realistically, quantity-wise, you do need at least 3 to 5 calls a day, I'd say, to actually make a good living. And how long has the offer actually been in business for? And does the offer actually have a future plan? Because realistically, a lot of these offers might be performing well now, but what's their future look like? Is it a long-standing company? I think on average, I think I've seen a stat, like don't quote us on this, but I remember someone saying on average, someone stays in a high ticket offer for 6 months because maybe the marketing gets pulled, this and that. So realistically, you've got to investigate to whether their marketing is solid. Are they going to have solid flow of leads coming in consistently? Look, it goes up and down though as well. You're not going to be given hot inbound leads 10 a day for years. There's going to be times where you have a pipeline, you're going to be dialing, you're going to be fucking using previous calls and stuff. It's just the way it is in the space. It's not going to be, perfect all the time. But does the offer at least have a feature? Do they have good management? Do they actually help people? You know what I'm trying to say. But look, boys, that's essentially it. I am going to dive a lot deeper into landing a role. But look, if you want to speed up the process, learn sales, and land a high ticket sales job in, look, 3 months, reach out to me on Instagram because as you've seen from guys and girls before, my network that I'm in to provide results, people, ordinary people, especially little dumb tradies like myself. There's no one, even if you're introverted, extroverted, there's a place for everyone in here. So if you have any questions, reach out to me on my Instagram. But yeah, that's essentially it, boys. Next week, I'm probably going to dive into how to actually land a role in a lot more depth, shooting intro videos, interviews, and all of that. But realistically, I wouldn't even be thinking about that until you've learned the skill of sales first. But I'm going to do it just to so you have a good idea for when you do get to that point. But look, guys, I appreciate your help. I'll catch you next week, 7 p.m. in a bit, boys.